Well, hello everyone. I am Matt Williamson at Williamson NFL. Give me a follow. Go check out my YouTube page as well. Last podcast I did yesterday is on fire. Everyone seems to be into it. A lot of people tended to agree with me what the things I said too. You know, I mean, it wasn't all, oh, fire everybody. Well, there's some of that. Times are a little rough around here. I get it. But I waited until after the 4:00 games on Sunday, as usual, to record this one, even though the Steelers didn't play today. And it's official. I'm sure you're not hearing it first from me. The Steelers will be going to Baltimore next week. I don't know times yet. Considering both teams played Saturday, it seems likely that that'll be a Saturday game, but you probably know that better than I do at the time of you listening to this. So that's what's going to happen. Not great. Much rather would have played Houston, that's for sure. But let's dig into snap counts and a couple little things before that as well. So average EPA per play for these two teams. You want to be positive, but they both were negative. The Bengals were at negative 0.10. The Steelers were at negative 0.28. Every time they snapped the ball, that's basically the points on the scoreboard, how they changed. So both were backwards on offense, negative. Average play per drive, Cincy won that one 71 to 5.8. They average yards per drive, 26.2 compared to 16.1. And average points per drive were 1.6 to 1.4 for the Steelers. So I wanted to dig into snap counts as we always do. A couple I thought were noteworthy for the Bengals offense, though. They snapped the ball 71 times. It doesn't matter who their back is. He's out there all the time. It was Khalil Herbert out there 68 out of 71 snaps, even though he had barely played going into this game. Cody Ford was in out of the lineup. He played 57 snaps. I thought that was noteworthy as well. And the only other back that I could find on here to play at all was their, quote, third down back. Travion Williams was out there for one snap. All right, Steelers offensive snaps. Of a possible 58, Wilson, Ciamalu, Moore, Frazier, Jones all played 58. Pickens was out there for 53. I didn't realize McCormick missed this much time. He was only out there for 46. Freiermuth also for 46. Van Jefferson for 39. Austin for 38. I would like Austin to outsnap Jefferson. Najee for 30 compared to 21 for Warren. I don't quite understand that usage either. I think Warren's the better player. Darnell Washington for 21. Mike Williams for 13. Spencer Anderson for 13. Michael Pruitt for 11. Cordell Patterson for 7. And 5 each for Connor Hayward and Skoranek. The Steelers' defensive snap count. Of a possible 71, Minka, Queen, and Porter never left the field. Trice was out there for 67. We'll talk about him more later. Elliott for 66. Sutton for 60. I didn't think he was particularly terrible in this game, but I'm shocked that after what he did for the games before this, that they decided to play him 60 out of 71 snaps. TJ for 56. Highsmith for 54. Cam for 46. Peyton Wilson for 40. Interesting. Ogunjobi for 39. Benton for 38. Roberts played 26. Herbig for 22. Preston Smith, 18. More on him later, too. Only 17 for Adams. Only 7 for KZ. Only 6 for Beanie Bishop. James Pierre, only 4. And Jeremiah Moon played 2 snaps. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA and college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA, head to BetOnline today to get on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. So, what did we stress so much coming into this game? Got to get back in terms of controlling time of possession. So, these last 4 games, starting with the Eagles, out of a possible 60 minutes, as I'm sure you know, Steelers possessed the ball in Philly 20-08. Ravens was better, but still below average, 27-35. At least it's trending the right way, especially after playing the Chiefs. You were 31-22 for that game, and then 22 minutes even against the Bengals. So of a possible 240 minutes of football that was played over these past 4 games, the Steelers possessed the football for only 101 minutes and 5 seconds out of a possible 240 minutes. Yuck. That's a little over 25 per game. Yuck, yuck, yuck. They had the ball for less than 4 minutes in the first quarter. They held the ball for 6:45 in the second quarter. They had the ball for 3:59 in the third quarter. Ugh. And even in the final quarter, the Steelers did have an advantage of time of possession, but it was only 7:50 compared to 7:10. So the final quarter was basically equal. All the other ones, they got demolished in time of possession. Offensive notes here. I don't know exactly when, but it basically is when they finally went hurry up. But well into this game, the Steelers had 0 first down pass attempts. I know it's a little vague. I don't have the exact spot where they threw their first pass on first down, but it was extremely late. And the use of Najee implies that their plan was, we're going to bludgeon this bad defense, control the clock, and run the ball. You can't run the ball every first down. I mean, come on. As for Wilson, I don't think he's reading coverages quickly. You're seeing a lot of late rotations by the defense, and he's not picking it up well. I don't think he's seeing past the line of scrimmage well in general. I think he's been very poor late in the downs. He looks more and more physically limited in all areas: movement, arm strength, size, escapability, quickness, twitchiness, all those things. He had a 2.47 time to throw in this game, which is very low, but they only blitzed him 16.2% of the dropbacks. I don't have strong takes on the blitz and time to throw numbers, but both are low. But the Steelers also showed early in the fourth quarter that they finally went to a no huddle when they were losing 19-7, that Wilson could pick apart the secondary if given the opportunity, like he did in the first matchup. So it wasn't all terrible. There was a short stretch there early in the fourth quarter where they played it more like they did the first time around, and he was sharp. I still find it odd, and this is probably more of a conversation for later in the week, that Fields would get 0 snaps in this game, considering how it went. I mean, there was that stretch where they were even at the end of the first half where they were short of the sticks 3 times in a row. Just even bring them out and just get that. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like things weren't going well, and you have this guy on the bench. Why not utilize him more? I thought we'd see Fields coming into this game some. I also think Najee over Warren is just a mistake. But the combination of Warren and Najee got the Steelers into the end zone the second quarter. And that was, they produced 37 yards on that drive. But that was half their rushing yards for the whole day. All came on, like half of their rushing yards between the two backs came in one drive when they scored. All right, here's some next-gen stuff. Cam Taylor-Britt lined up against George Pickens on 27 of his 35 routes, allowing 0 receptions, of course, and just 2 targets, forcing 1 tight window. Cam Taylor-Britt's not exactly Darrelle Revis, though, folks. Entering Week 18, Taylor-Britt had been targeted on 16.3 of his coverage snaps while allowing the 6th most yards as the nearest defender in coverage, 721 yards. Pickens managed just to catch 1 of his 6 total targets in the game, totaling 0 or fewer receiving yards for the 3rd time in his career. Wow. Let's give Mike Williams a little bit of credit, though. He made a play or two. Kind of, that was a nice glimpse of who I thought they were getting at the trade deadline. Probably won't go down as a worthwhile trade, though. And I thought Freiermuth was excellent, despite the final play. And he has come on. That is a bright spot. Freiermuth is worth the extension and has been a very good player. Pickens was obviously terrible in this game. But I thought Austin was too. Again, this has been so many times where a number 2 receiver would have been valuable. Dan Moore was really bad in this game too, and at bad, crucial situations. And frankly, the last month has been brutal on the guy. I mean, he's losing money left and right this last month. Hendrickson generated 7 pressures and 3.5 sacks on 28 pass rushes, including 4 pressures in under 2.5 seconds. I mean, he had 4 pressures in the quick game, 2.5. That's hard to do. He generated 7 pressures and 3.5 sacks. I just double-clicked that, actually. But anyways, he faced Moore on 24 of his 28 pass rushes, generating 6 pressures and all 3.5 of his sacks in such matchups. On the season, Hendrickson has 86 pressures aligned at the right edge, the most in the NFL and second most in a season since 2018, only trailing himself in 2021. He always lines up in the same spot. I mean, that's why he's, has that designation. But boy, he whipped up on Dan Moore, obviously. So I found it pretty crazy that Cam Hayward had a bad case of the flu, if you haven't heard that by now. Yet him and TJ I thought were outstanding. And that's kind of what you would hope or expect from those guys. But Cam had 3 more pass defense for the Steelers. First time since week 16 of 2023 that a defensive tackle anywhere in the league had at least 3 pass defenses in a game. He's remarkable at it. He also became the first defensive lineman to record 10-plus pass defense and 10-plus tackles for loss in a single season, since Cam Jordan did it way back in 2017. And frankly, this has been the case all year, too. When Cam is out there, teams, including the Bengals, just don't run the ball. I mean, it's an alert. When he's on the field, it's not really even worth, run the ball. But when he's on the sideline, they ran the ball a lot. Obviously, Hayward was ailing. I didn't know that originally. And as mentioned yesterday, Preston Smith saw more snaps as an extra interior rush guy in the nickel and dime because of it. Kind of saved Hayward to some degree. And that's an interesting wrinkle. Something we mentioned when they traded for Smith. He did have a sack. So Preston Smith would be a nice guy to bring back in that capacity and more. All 3, I thought, of the Bengals offensive tackles that played in this game were quite bad, including Zeus. All those guys were bad. They lost consistently. They sacked Burrow 4 times and hit him 7 times, forcing 2 fumbles. They allowed 7.5 yards per catch over the course of the game, which isn't bad. Burrow had a streak of 8 consecutive games with 3 or more touchdowns passes, and they snapped that. Still, he was awesome. Roberts played a really good game, I thought. Showed up well versus the run in a big way and as a blitzer. Now, these numbers aren't going to sound great, but I still contend that Trice was more of a positive when you factor in everything than a negative. He matched up against Jamar Chase on 32 of his 50 routes. That's rough in itself. I mean, Jamar Chase is like the best receiver in the league. He's going to win the Triple Crown. He did win the Triple Crown. Including 30 of 38 routes when Chase was aligned out wide. He was targeted 9 times with Trice as the nearest defender. He caught 8 of those for 80 yards and a touchdown on those targets. But only 80 yards. I mean, that's not that bad for this guy. This is a down day for Chase. Chase was only targeted 5 times with any other Steeler as the nearest defender and only caught 2 of those for 16 yards. I also didn't think they did a good enough job of helping Trice. If you're going to do the Porters alone on Higgins thing, you got to help this guy more. How about some inside leverage? Things like that. I still am sticking with this being a successful outing for him. I mean, when you consider the extreme circumstances. Now, I'm not saying Trice has solved all your corner problems for the history of the world, but I'm interested. Ogunjobi had a rough game, especially in the run game. He got pushed around a lot. Now, here's something we definitely would have taken. I mean, Cincinnati's longest play was only 19 yards in this game. Chase, as mentioned, had 10 receptions, but they were only 96 yards. I mean, this offense is great. Chase is awesome. This is a super explosive offense. Those are all things I would have taken days ago. They also tackled very well. I mentioned that yesterday, but they tackled the catch. This was a very good tackling performance by the Steeler defense, which is what we had seen early in the season quite a bit. Burrow had a 2.53 time to throw, which I think is a little misleading because there was 5, 6, 7 plays where he held the ball really long and just kind of danced around back there and made people miss. But by design, I think that number would be even lower, and he was super effective with the real super quick game stuff. Steelers only blitzed him 16% of his dropbacks. I would have guessed much higher upon official viewing. I mean, first initial viewing. The Bengals threw 0 deep balls in this game. Didn't take 1 deep shot the entire game. 0. Burrow completed 37 of his 46 attempts for 277 and a touchdown and an interception, recording a completion percentage over expected of 8.4%. That's his 4th best CPOE. Trust me, that's a good thing. In a game this season. He has recorded 3 of his 4 highest CPOE totals this season over the last 3 weeks. This guy's on fire. He also completed 21 of his 23 for 160 yards on attempts outside the numbers, recording the highest completion percentage on such passes in a game this season, 91.3%. Burrow now leads the NFL with 1,799 yards on passes outside the numbers this season, 86 more than the next closest quarterback, which is Lamar Jackson, who they're going to face, obviously, coming up. And the Steelers' numbers allowing yardage outside the numbers defensively have gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. Another instance, though, that the Steelers did bottle up the run well and never really let Herbert get loose. He never reached 10 miles an hour in this game, which is rare for a running back. I mean, he never really got a chance to open it up. I mean, every back in the league can get to 10 miles an hour. Couple little other things here. Special teams. Obviously, Austin fumbled, but they recovered a fumble on a punt as well. They did allow 2 big kick returns. And just to be frank, the special teams unit for the Steelers, kicker aside, has not been the dominant advantage it was the first couple months of the season. It's just been quiet. It hasn't been bad. It just hasn't been splashy. It hasn't been an advantage. Overall tackles for loss, the Steelers had 7. Bengals had 6. Per PFF, take it for how you want, but this adds up. Their 3 highest graded players were Joe Burrow with an 86.1, obviously. Mike Hilton, I was a little shocked to see that. Not that he was bad, but he ended up with an 84.6. And then Cam Hayward with an 82.7. And they gave Joe Burrow their player of the game. A 93% adjusted completion percentage, which is numbers you just don't see very often. So that's a wrap on that one. Put a bow on that stinker. On to Baltimore, which as it stands here, late Sunday afternoon, early evening, I don't have high hopes for, but see what the Zay Flowers injury is. I'm not sure if Kyle Hamilton's 100%. Obviously, familiarity might narrow the gap, but the Ravens are clearly the better team and playing better right now. I think that goes without saying. Won't be easy, but I will be breaking it all down and previewing it as we always do. Take care, everyone.